Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Celtics Roundtable. This is our analytics perspective, and we're coming to you on Wednesdays. It's our first show, so we're going to do a few quick introductions anyway. I'm, of course, Jonathan Levy. I'm a professional poker player. I'm forced to use math, at least sometimes in my profession. I'm joined by Sam Sheehan, who is our cap aficionado. He knows all about the numbers. And, of course, Matthew Ignal, who works in data science and deep learning. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds impressive for sure. That makes us almost qualified to pull this off, which to me is good enough. You're going to be the judge at home. Let's just jump right into this, shall we, boys? Because who wants to wait around? Not me. So, first question. So, people mostly know what analytics are these days, so let's not get into definitions. They have Google in front of them anyway. But what are some ways the Celtics might use analytics to make decisions about their team? Matthew Ignal, I'm starting with you.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine on like the basketball front, like it ranges from everything from like data analysis to derive insight to help figure out what plays and lineups are working to more complex things like machine learning techniques to make predictions about draft prospects or just like running simulations to see the likelihood of some event. Like all 30 teams have invested in analytics. And as a result, the quality of data has exploded in recent years. We got Sport VU cameras tracking player motion, and there's been like giant advancements in neural networks recently. And I know there's like a lot of critics out there about just like analytics in general. But you know, I'm personally confident that with like better and better data, the analysis derived from that data will continue to get better and better as well.
It's more, taking a hard look at yourself and your opponent, finding out where your strengths are and finding out where their weaknesses are in a way that's tangible. So, something that you can figure out. And I think that's something we've seen the Celtics, since Brad Stevens came in particular, we've seen them, do these more up-tempo offenses because, it's understood that if you can attack quickly before a defense sets up, you have a better chance to score. If you shoot a three-pointer from the corners, you can hit that at well above 40% hit rate, and you can get more points back. And that's something that in general teams are not accounting for credibly. Like we've seen the Celtics themselves guard corner three-pointers very well because they understand that that is a weak point, that is an Achilles heel in the NBA. So I think I think the Celtics are one of the top teams. Houston gets a lot of credit for this, but I think the Celtics are right up there, and just in terms of understanding that information is power. And, when you're in a sports competition like this, you're trying to figure out where you're good and where your opponent is bad. And, that's really what sports is all about.
I think Kevin Pelton said it best that, while nothing can beat an expert, watching a game, only the data can watch every single game. And if you can't learn anything from data, sorry. I think there are some people who can. So, anyway.
In a second, we're going to talk about Kyrie Irving, getting him, losing Isaiah and Jay Crowder, and also how those players are going to fit ultimately in the playoffs and what the numbers say about that. But before we do, we got to talk to you about Greats, makers of the all-time greats, classic, stylish, and comfortable sneakers sold at a great price. Greats is Brooklyn's first sneaker company, and they sell all the greats, classic styles, made the best for less. A wide selection of men's and women's shoes, versatile styles suitable for any occasion, even getting married. Tons of different colors and materials to choose from. Their bestsellers include the all-leather Royale lace-up and the Worcester slip-on. So that's pretty cool. I'm getting my pair really soon. I haven't gotten them yet. I am super excited, though, to try these things and show them off. Maybe pick up a lady or two. We'll see how that goes. You can check these out along with lots of other great styles at greats.com. And we've got a special deal for you guys. Save 15% on your first order with our offer code Celtics Roundtable. That's all one word. Go to greats.com. That's greats.com. And be sure to enter Celtics Roundtable to save 15% at checkout. Greats also believe so much in their shoes, they offer a no-risk return and exchange policy to guarantee you get the right fit in a style that you love. So that's greats.com. Use our code Celtics Roundtable and save 15%. Super sweet. Okay, coming back to the roundtable, I was mentioning Kyrie Irving. I teased it. We can't wait any longer, guys. I got to know, What do you think? The Celtics lost 2 big-time players, actually even more than that, according to some of the advanced stats like Real Plus Minus. Amir Johnson's gone, although I'm not really including him. I'm thinking more of Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder. And although Isaiah has a hip problem right now, by the time the playoffs roll around, I got to believe he's very likely to be healthy. The Celtics did acquire, however, the best player in that deal, Kyrie Irving. What do you think this all means? Do the Celtics end up net ahead or behind in this trade when you look at it from the numbers point of view?
Are we including the Brooklyn pick in there or no?
Let's not include the Brooklyn pick. Let's just talk about who's going to be better, because I think if you include the Brooklyn pick, we're in trouble. I'm going to be very sad very quickly. But let's just talk about in terms of the players and thinking about the playoffs for this coming season.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Isaiah Thomas had a better regular season than Kyrie Irving last year. I know Kyrie Irving may have had a better RPM, but Isaiah Thomas was incandescent on the offensive end this year and just completely powered the Celtics. There's going to be an adjustment period with Kyrie Irving, but I mean, the dude is proven in the playoffs, not to step up his defense, but to just be able to go and get buckets against elite defense. I mean, the guy can go blow for blow with the Warriors, so I almost want to say, throw out the stats. This guy is 85% of Kobe Bryant on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think that if we're just going to do it Isaiah Thomas against Kyrie Irving, I think if you want Kyrie Irving to have Isaiah Thomas's exact role, he might struggle with that, particularly in the first year. I think that, there's a strong chance he could develop into that. But Isaiah Thomas was really, the whole Celtics offense last year was built around him. And I think if you want Kyrie Irving to do that same thing, he's going to struggle because he's more of an isolation type of scorer. Now, that said, it's not the same team. It's there's only 4 players who are the same. Gordon Hayward's in the fold now. So maybe that hyper efficient but super dominant style that Isaiah Thomas had would not have necessarily worked as well with Gordon Hayward. But I think one person that the Celtics are going to miss is Jay Crowder, who I think was tremendously underrated. Just strictly on the power of being, a good 3-point shooter. There's a pretty good chance he'll regress and he won't this year, and he won't shoot as well as he did last year. And I know people really want to, kill him for losing a step, whatever the case may be throughout the years. But I think that, big, strong wings who can shoot threes are always, always, always so important to have in this league. We've seen it time and time again. And I think that not having him depth-wise really puts a lot of pressure on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You hope that one of those guys is going to be ready, but I think that, analytically, the reason that you saw Jay Crowder rated so high in those stats like RPM and those sorts of things is because of how small the Celtics were last year, particularly in their front court with Isaiah Thomas and Avery Bradley, who's very small for a 2-guard. So, and they didn't really have a solid small forward backing them up. I'm not sure too much has changed. Gordon Hayward is in the fold, yes, but Kyrie Irving is not known for trying defensively night in and night out. Whether Jaylen Brown or Marcus Smart starts the 2 is going to, affect this, but I think that, the reason Jay Crowder's RPM was so high is not necessarily indicative of his talent as a player. It's just how well he fits around superstars and players who need someone that complements them. And I think this team in particular, with its 3 stars in Al Horford, Gordon Hayward, and Kyrie Irving, could have really used a complementary guy like Jay, and I think they're going to miss him this year. And Cleveland's going to benefit from that.
One of the things that you can't, maybe someone's actually figured this out and put numbers to this, but I've never seen articulated numerically is the Brad Stevens boost. Ooh. Players come in, they're pretty good or no good, and bam, suddenly they're Jordan Crawford, suddenly they're Jay Crowder, and they have value. And it's something we see over and over and over again. And Kyrie Irving has basically never had a good coach his entire career. Tyronn Lue's probably the best coach. I got to believe Brad Stevens is way better than that. And also, Brad Stevens brings something to all these new players where they just seem to play better. So I believe Brad Stevens is going to find a way to maximize Kyrie's talents offensively, much like you're saying he really helped Jay Crowder to do that because of the system. I think the system will be built around Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward and Al Horford. And I expect that means we're probably going to see an incredible statistical season anyway from Kyrie. I hope that also translates to efficiency and effectiveness. That I'm not as sure about.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, Jay Crowder and Amir Johnson, those guys were great by the floor stats before they came to the Celtics. But we saw in the playoffs, like Amir Johnson couldn't see the floor. Maybe he was banged up a little bit, but I think just stylistically, the Celtics were better off going small with Horford at the 5 or Olynyk at the 5. And for that reason, Amir Johnson's game, maybe really good in holding down the fort in the regular season, and he plays pretty much mistake-free basketball. He doesn't really turn the ball over. He's a good contested rebounder. Jay Crowder, once again, never turns the ball over. Really good defender, but he might not be able to guard the Kevin Durant's and LeBron James of the world. Not that anyone can. They can't guard one another. But I do think that there is something to be said that some of the guys who look really good by the floor stats in the regular season, it might not work in particularly the later rounds of the playoffs when teams can game plan against you, and you have to guard a monster on the other end. And Jay Crowder, really good player. I've been a big defender of his, but I just think that this points to the idea that the way the Celtics are built this year, and probably for the future, it's probably going to translate more towards playoff success.
I would agree with that, and I think that but at the same time, I think you also need to understand. Right, you still need to
get through that 82-game slog
healthy. While I know it's in vogue to talk about how Gerald Green did more for the Celtics in the playoffs than Amir Johnson did, if, God forbid, Al Horford gets hurt this year, we're going to really miss Amir Johnson in that spot. And I think that relying on, I think that always getting top-tier talent, I mean, this was the knock on the Celtics for the past 3 years, was that they did not have a lot of at least a lot of star talent. I think you could probably make the argument they still don't have a superstar talent, like a top 15 talent, but they do have a lot of star players, guys who have made multiple all-star teams on the roster now. So to, having those guys and having that creativity is always going to help you in the playoffs, but it did come at the cost of their some of their versality.
Well, I mean,
being able to attack.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, just they lost some of their. I mean, but they gained a lot of positional versatility on top of that, and particularly on the offensive end, they just got way more versatile players. Like by RPM, I think Jay Crowder was better than Gordon Hayward, but Jay Crowder's a lot easier to game plan for than Gordon Hayward, who can go left, who can go right, who can pass the ball, who can put it on the floor, who can shoot from mid-range off the dribble a lot better than Jay Crowder. So I just think that from that perspective, I mean, versatility, it just depends on what perspective you're looking at it from.
Right. Well, that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is, who was Gordon Hayward? Who was he looking for shots from? It was Rodney Hood. It was Rudy Gobert. Now he's got Kyrie Irving on his team. That's someone who needs that help, needs those shots offensively to stay engaged. We kind of saw it with the Cavs in the regular season, and it ultimately ended in him requesting a trade because, he really wanted to kind of have the keys to the offense somewhere. And, I'm not sure that effectiveness holds up as much when you're not the, number one guy. True, you're not at the top of teams' depth charts and game charts and stuff like that, but at the same time you're not doing there's a chance that if Brad Stevens is building the offense around Kyrie Irving, is Gordon Hayward is not going to get the absolute tip of the spear responsibilities that he would normally get. So I think that's why we see in the regular season we see guys like Amir Johnson and Jay Crowder do so well, because it's more those guys who can spackle over the team's weaknesses best versus guys who are excellent at and have star power at one position, which is why I agree that I think that it's going to help them more in the in the playoffs. but you still need to have those guys ready to go, which is why I think it's so important to, Marcus Smart and guys like that are going to be important.
That's like as close as you're ever going to get to fighting words on an analytics show, I got to tell you. That's like Sam Sheehan throwing down people, in case you're wondering. That is going to do it, though, for our show tonight. If you enjoyed it, like, share, and subscribe. If you're listening to it, make sure you, subscribe on iTunes or whatever podcast app you're listening to. Of course, you can give us a 5-star review. We will always take that. You can follow us on Twitter at CLNS Roundtable. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. For Sam Sheehan, Matt Ignal, I'm Jonathan Levy. We'll see you next time on The Roundtable.